Welcome back to Miniature Game Montage and another Flames of War battle report. It has been a while since we've played Flames of War on the channel, as many of our local folks are playing a lot of Team Yankee, but Anthony was kind enough to come over today with his Americans, and I'm excited to square off against him with my Germans. We are back on the Western Front, and this one is going to be good. Now, if you are unfamiliar with my style of battle reports, I do like to be very quick and keep things on the action, and we are going to dive straight into the lists. The Germans have brought a Panzer IV tank company with 2 Panzer IV HQs, a platoon of 5 Panzer IVs, and a platoon of 2 Tiger tanks. That rounds out the formation, but in support they have 2 88s, 4 Stugs, and a platoon of 5 Panzer Grenadiers. In total, with the lucky card, 100 points. Anthony's Americans have a veteran M4 tank company with 2 Sherman 75 HQs, a platoon of 5 Sherman 76s, a platoon of 4 Sherman 75s, and 3 81mm tracked mortars. In support, they have an M8 with 2 Jeeps acting as scouts, a veteran armored rifle platoon at full strength, 3 M7 priests, and 4 M10 tank destroyers. In total, with the lucky card, 100 points. Today's mission is Dust Up, and Anthony's Americans will be attacking. Deployment will be 12 inches from the center, and we're playing with meeting engagement and delayed reserves. Anthony has his 76s and M10s coming from reserve in the quarter next to him. The Germans have their Stugs, Command Panzer IVs, and the Grenadiers in reserve. They will come in on the table quarter next to their deployment zone. Objectives have been placed, one in the deployment area and one in their opponents. To win this game, you'll need to occupy one of those objectives in your opponent's deployment zone at the end of your turn. As always, our battle reports are absolutely free, and I appreciate a thumbs up to help my content get found by like-minded gamers. If you would like to support my efforts in making these videos, there will be a link in the description to buy me a coffee or some other frothy beverage. If you do, you will become part of the 2021 Supporters Club, and you may find your name on a tank or represented somewhere else on the battlefield. And with deployment complete, the Americans will be up for turn 1. As a quick note for the Americans on turn 1, Anthony has decided to stay put, just get the infantry dug in, and not wanting to test those 75s against a squad of Panzer IVs and Tiger tanks. The artillery can't fire due to meeting engagement, so we're going to skip down to the Germans for the bottom of 1. The German movement step, they are going to attempt a blitz move with these Panzer IVs, looking for a 4 or better. That blitz order will fail. This will be a -1 to their shooting. If they would have gotten a 14-inch move off, they would have been able to bring more guns to bear against these Shermans, as they can see them to the back of that tree line, but that 10-inch move will allow them to move forward into this crop field and at least get a few shots off on turn 1. Moving over next, the Tigers are just going to take a tactical move about 10 inches and bringing their guns in line of sight to those Shermans as well. In the shooting step, there are 2 Panzer IVs that can draw line of sight to the Shermans. Behind the woods here, they are concealed long range, and they will need 7s due to failing that blitz order. Both of these are going to miss, and then the Tigers will get 1 shot each, able to see them as well. So 2 shots going out. They need 6s due to range and concealment, and both of those will miss as well. The 88s positioned at the edge of the woods here will launch shots downfield at the infantry, and they will get 2 shots each, needing 7s due to range, concealed, gone to ground. And the first 2 miss, and letting out the second also miss. And that brings the German turn to a close as the Americans hold steady and the Germans attempt a pincer maneuver with their Tiger tanks and the Panzer IVs. And back over to the Americans, they're going to be forced to move now. A blitz test is passed by the Sherman 75s. That will give them a total of up to a 14-inch move, and they will use all of it as they attempt to pull back and get away from those Panzer IVs and Tiger tanks. And in the shooting step, the 81 millimeter mortars are going to range in, going to get one of the 88s, and that's the maximum distance that they can fire. It is clipping some terrain, so he will need 5s in order to range in. And he puts the marker down, which he says is a mistake, and fails to range in on the first. The second attempt is also a fail, and the third attempt also fails, so no ranging in for those 81 millimeter mortars. Additional artillery will fire this turn as the M7 Priest will attempt to range in on the Tiger tanks, and they will get a spot from the infantry HQ unit here, and rolling these out, also needing a 5 due to terrain, and they get ranged in on the first attempt. And these Tiger tanks do have a top armor of 2, so with an anti-tank of 3, the intent would be to attempt to bail one of these tanks out. And rolling 2 dice out, one of these is going to score a hit, so taking a save for one of the Tiger tanks, anything but a 1 to prevent a bailout. A 6 is rolled, and they are just fine. Shot bounces. Bottom 2 for the Germans. The Panzer IVs make a tactical move, trying to bring more guns into firing range of these Shermans as they continue to chase them. They will space out, I believe, to get 3 or 4 of these tanks within line of sight to fire. Everything else is going to remain stationary. The Tigers want to take 2 shots, and the 88s want to take 2 shots as well. In the shooting step, the Panzer IVs elect to split fire. One of the Panzer IVs can see the Shermans and will need 6s due to range and concealment. And that shot goes out. It is a miss. The rest of the Panzer IVs that can actually fire are going to target the Sherman HQ unit across the way here, also needing 6s due to range and concealment. And 3 dice going out here for 3 of these tanks that can shoot. 1 hit is landed, and I believe a 4 or better is needed, and he gets that. The shot bounces. The 88s elect to split fire as well, as one of them can see the Shermans, the other can only see infantry. So firing through the concealment and long range, the first 88 fires needing 6s. Both of those shots are going to miss. The other 88 is going to target the infantry downrange. Long range, concealed, and gone to ground is going to need 7s on this one, and both of these shots are going to miss as well. Next up, the Tigers are going to take shots at the 75s, and 2 shots each from these, needing 6s due to long range and concealment. And lucky for the Americans, all 4 of these shots are going to miss. So the Germans continuing to push up the board, the Americans pulling back right now. A little bit of a cagey fight at this moment. There's been no casualties, but we will start rolling for reserves in turn 3, and depending on where they come in, there could be some carnage. Americans turn 3, rolling for reserves, looking for a 5 or better, and no reserves coming in this turn, but the Americans have to start getting a little more aggressive, and the 75s will make a move up behind these crop rows, and then the HQ unit is going to reposition, getting out of line of sight of those Panzer IVs. That is going to free up the scout vehicles to start moving around the back of the lines. In the shooting step, the 81 millimeter mortars are going to lay down smoke, and just going to roll both of these together, looking for a 5 or better, and he does connect with one of these, so smoke being laid out, that will give them some protection from these Tiger tanks, at least as of right now. Shooting continues with the M7 Priest as they self-spot the Panzer IVs. They are going to attempt to drop some artillery, looking for a 4. Range and attempt number 1 fails, but he does connect on the second attempt. And then we continue in the shooting step. The Shermans are going to target the Panzer IV unit, and the first one will be firing. So a base of 4, stabilizers 5, and concealed 6. 2 shots going out from that back Sherman there, and he does land a hit. And needing should be a 4 here, but we roll this out as a 3, and rolling a 3, we said that equaled the anti-tank, but I don't think that actually works if these guys are short range. We do roll out a firepower and consider that tank bailed out. Two more Shermans fire as well, and they will need 5s due to stabilizers. He lands 2 more hits, and once again, this should be 4-up rolls to equal the anti-tank, as the front armor is 6 against anti-tank 10. The first save is taken in what I believe should have been a fail. We roll a firepower test, which has failed. That should be a bailed out tank, but we ruled that as good. And then the next save is taken, and that one is going to be just fine. Shot is bounced. The last Sherman will fire as well, needing 6s due to concealment and stabilizers. Those shots will miss. Artillery from the priests begin to rain down on the Panzer IVs as well, and getting all 5 of these under the template. 2 hits will be scored. Those are going to be assigned to the back Panzer IVs, and with the top armor of 1, I need a 2 to equal the anti-tank of 3. So rolling out that first one, that is going to be good, and then rolling up a save for the second, that is going to be good as well. So the end result of the shooting is a bailed out Panzer IV. We're going to move over to the Germans for the bottom of 3, rolling for reserves, needing a 5 to bring something in. Not happening on this turn. We're going to attempt to remount this Panzer IV, needing a 3 or better due to protected ammo, and that does not happen. So into the movement phase, the Tiger tanks are going to move at tactical speed, moving through the smoke and bringing those Shermans into clear view. One of the Panzer IVs is going to move, protecting the backside of the rest of the platoon, knowing that reinforcements could come in on the next turn from that table edge. The rest are going to remain steady to get full fire at the Shermans. And in the shooting step, 6 shots erupt from the main cannons into the 75s. Base of 4 and concealed 5. So they will get 1 hit that goes through. That gets assigned to one of those back Shermans. And the Americans are going to take a mistaken target roll here, which will be successful. So Anthony will reallocate that wound to another Sherman, and then he rolls up a save, which is failed. The firepower test is going to be good, and we see our first Sherman go up in smoke. Now this smoke will provide some concealment for the shots from the Tiger, and we're going to go down to the banner cam for this one. Right.
I was going to see if there was a way it wasn't concealed, but I guess, yeah, no.
So that lead tank is now blocking for concealment, so needing 5s here, base 4. And that's double 6s, 2 go through.
Woo!
Just sign those 1, 2
Wherever
like
you
that.
want. No,
Yeah.
it won't matter.
All right, and that goes straight to firepower?
Yes.
So firepower test on this guy here. Oh my gosh,
man.
another 6.
6
And then on the back guy.
Oh, just like that. We're down to
Boom.
a test.
And there you have it, some great shooting from the Tiger tanks into the Sherman 75s. That brings turn 3 to a close. There was a Panzer IV that was bailed out, but the Germans did some major work with the Panzer IVs, eliminating 1 Sherman tank, and the Tiger tanks eliminating 2 more. And that platoon will be testing in the starting step in turn 4. Americans desperate for reserves in turn 4, rolling up 2 dice looking for 5s. They will get a unit to come in, and this could really put the Germans into a tight spot. And the 76s do come on the board, and they will be able to get shots off on the Panzer IV unit, who elected to remain stationary for the most part to fire at full effect on these Shermans. We also test to see if this last Sherman sticks around, and he will do so, feeling confident, and he is motivated. The Sherman HQs are going to back up just a little bit, fearing for the reserves that could be coming in next turn for the Germans. And then the M8, along with the Jeeps, are going to continue to skirt around the backfield, potentially trying to shoot down to those objectives if they could do so in the late stages of the game. The 76s are also going to position to bring their cannons into full effect against these Panzer IVs. In the shooting step, the 81mm mortars are going to attempt to range back in on the 88s. They will need a 5 here due to the tall terrain. The first attempt will fail, but the second attempt is going to be successful, so they will range in on 2. And then continuing the shooting phase, the Sherman that remained stationary is going to fire 2 shots into the Panzer IV. Did not move, and there is no concealment here, so just needing 4s, 2 shots going out. And he will land a hit. We get that hit assigned. And once again, I need a 3 to equal the anti-tank of 10. And this 4 will beat it. The shot will bounce. The 76s are now going to take aim as well. Now, 4 of these tanks have a straight shot, so with stabilizers, due to coming in from reserve, it will need 5s. So 8 shots coming out from the 4 76s, and he is going to land 3 hits. And assigning these hits all against tanks that are going into the rear armor, I am going to attempt to mistaken target roll to pull one of those hits off on this Sherman that has front armor, and that will be successful, so I will reassign that hit, and then we are going to start rolling up for saves. And anti-tank a 12 against my front armor of 6. I need a 6 to even tie this thing. That doesn't happen, so that is going to a firepower, needing a 3 up, and that is going to be a Panzer IV destroyed. The next 2 going into the rear, so going straight to firepower, and both of these are going to explode. That is 3 Panzer IVs up in smoke. We do have another 76 that is taking a concealed shot, so he will need 6s to hit here. That does not convert. And then we continue in the shooting phase with mortars as they begin firing down on the 88's position and rolling that die out. It is going to miss. Now the M7 priests are going to fire their artillery down on the Panzer IVs, trying to eliminate those last 2 tanks. And shots coming down there, 2 tanks caught under the template, and those shots are going to miss as well. And that wraps up the end of the American turn. The 76s storm onto the board and take down 3 of the Panzer IVs. We're going to roll up for reserves here in the starting step. We'll get 1 in, and the Stugs make it onto the board, and they are showing their cannons at the Sherman HQs. And then we're going to attempt to remount this Panzer. That first is going to fail, so I'm going to elect to use my lucky reroll right here to try to remount this tank, as if he doesn't get back in, it will force a check. And luckily for me, I do remount that tank. There's no last stand that needs to take place for that unit. And we've got the Stugs in the movement step. They are pushing forward, and they are going to bring their cannons into line of sight of that Sherman tank. The Panzer IVs are going to push forward at tactical speed, using the woods as line of sight blocking from those 76s, hoping to just bide them some time and a few shots to try to eliminate some more American armor. And then the Tigers are going to push forward as well, and they start to contest the objective here in the Americans' deployment zone. Moving into the shooting step, the Stugs are going to take shots at that Sherman 75, and we've got quite a few of these that are going to fire. 4 shots ring out from the main cannons, looking for 5s due to concealment. That will land a hit, and the armor save will be taken, needing a 5 or better here to equal. That's an anti-tank 11, I believe. And that save will fail, so going to a 3-up firepower test to destroy this tank, and he is just bailed out. Action continues as the Panzer IVs bring their main cannons to bear on the Sherman here. The first one will fire with no concealment, so it will need 4s. That shot will miss. The second fires, and it is getting concealment, and that shot will hit on a 5. So he is rolling an armor save here, once again needing a 5 to tie, and he fails, going to a firepower test, and it is just bailed out. Next up, the Tigers are going to target the 81mm mortar teams, and I am trying to put as much of his formation in bad spirits as possible. 2 shots from the main cannons on 5s due to concealment, and both of these are going to hit. It has an armor of 1, so we are going straight to firepower. And that first one up top, no, it is just bailed out. I have a 3+ firepower, and the next one getting rolled out, and that is going to be a fail as well. So my firepower dice just not on. And next up, the 88s are going to target one of the 76s downfield. This is going to be long range and concealment, but 4 shots coming out will need 6s. And I will get a hit here on the 76. He is going to have to roll up on his armor save to attempt to save this. And this 3 is not going to get it done. So we are going to firepower, which is a 3-up, and I finally get it. So one of the 76s up in smoke. And turn 4 comes to a big close as the Germans continued to push up the board, lost 3 Panzer IVs. The Americans did lose a 76, and they had quite a few other tanks and armor bailed out, but pressure on, and anything is still up for grabs at this point in the game. Americans turn 5, dealing with a bit of a cat problem. They will automatically get in some reserves here. The M10s make it onto the field. Sherman 75 attempting to remount and fails. The last stand fails as well, but he's going to use the lucky re-roll here, and that tank will stick around, although bailed out. The HQ tries to get back in his tank and also fails. Going to re-roll for the commander, and it still fails. So we're going to roll for the half-tracks now, the 81 mortars. Both of them fail to remount as well. Lucky for the Americans, the last stand is passed, so the formation is still in good spirits. In the movement step, these M10s are going to shift over, attempting to get some shot either on the Panzers or the Tigers. And then the 76s, they're going to pass a blitz order, and they're going to move as well, attempting to get further up the board to pull some of these tanks off of the German objectives that they're contesting. The scouts will continue to move behind their lines and make dash moves, hoping to get around the corner by the end of the game. And then moving into the shooting step, the M7 priests, they can self-spot here. They are going to lay down some smoke. That is successful, and we are continuing in the shooting phase now with the M10s. The M10s let loose with 4 shots, just needing force here. The only thing they can see here are the Panzer IVs, and wouldn't you know it, all of these shots are going to miss. Next up, the mortar platoon is going to fire down at the 88s, needing a 4, and they miss. They would have to re-roll their hits because they only have 1 team firing, and that brings us to the end of the American turn. Shifting back over to the Germans for the bottom of turn 5 and rolling for reserves. They will get one in automatically, but they got one anyway. And the Panzer Grenadiers will make their way onto the board. Not a whole lot to do here. The Tigers are going to move forward, getting within a solid charge range of the infantry. The Panzer IVs are going to make a move as well at tactical speed, and they're going to attempt to get these units pinned down and make a charge, hopefully trying to eliminate a few stands to win the game here. The Grenadiers are going to move along the backside at the start to make their way toward the objective so they can hunker down on that. And then the Stoogs are going to move up. They will move over the wall, so attempting cross-checks here from all 4 of these going across. And starting with the top, that is going to be a pass. The next one is going to be a pass as well. We're going to have 2 of these Stoogs get hung up, and 2 will make it over, attempting to fire down at the infantry. And these Stoogs open up with their machine guns at their moving rate of fire. These guys are concealed and gone to ground. They haven't fired or done anything, so it is going to be 6s to hit, and the machine guns start shooting, and all of these are going to miss. The 88s are going to target them next. They are able to fire through some gaps in those tanks, and they will need 7s here due to long range, concealed, and gone to ground. And all of these shots are going to miss as well. We did have a potential go through, but it does not convert. Next up, the tanks, the Panzer IVs, are going to let loose with their machine guns, and this one is concealed and gone to ground as well. Concealed and gone to ground needing 6s. There will be 1 that goes through, and after getting that assigned, he is going to take his 3-up infantry save. That will be failed, so we will move to firepower here to see if I can nudge them off this objective, and the firepower once again fails. The Tiger tanks open up next with their machine guns, 4 shots each at their moving rate of fire, again needing 6s due to concealed and gone to ground. We'll get quite a few hits here. I am going to start to target the bazookas here, as I'm going to attempt to charge in and want to eliminate the threat of getting blown up in the process. So assigning those hits out, he begins taking his infantry saves. On this first one, they are good on a 3. The second here is going to fail, but it does require a 6-up firepower test from me, which I fail. And then we are moving through. The next one is going to be good, and the final one good as well. The Tiger tanks then are charging into the infantry, and they will face Overwatch from the bazookas. The first two bazookas will take shots. They are close enough to where there's no concealment, so just needing 4s. And one of these will go through, and the back 2 gaining concealment here, he still gets one of these, needing a 5. So that is going to be a hit onto each of these. So I will start to take armor saves here, hoping that something doesn't go drastically wrong, because if I can eliminate these 2 infantry stands, that will win the game for the Germans. The first one is going to be passed, and the armor save is a 2. Since we're going from the side, that equals the anti-tank, so he has a chance to bail one of these Tigers out with a bazooka, needing a 5-up firepower, and it's just failed. So the assault will continue, and the Tigers essentially rolling to eliminate stands now as they crush into the infantry. The first one fails, and the second one is going to be good. So one stand will be taken down, but now he has got to roll to counter or break off. He rolls to counter, and he does not. That means that they are going to run at least 6 inches away, and that is going to free up the objective and give the Germans a victory today. So this brings another Flames of War battle report to a close. There were a few things that we got wrong. As I go back and edit footage and look at the finalized product, I can start to pick up on where certain mistakes were made. And please keep in mind that we are just a few casual players that enjoy playing the game, and we tend to just have a good time and roll dice. And I certainly appreciate you watching, appreciate your support. Would like to give a special thank you to Anthony for coming over to play a game of Flames of War. It is something that I have been wanting to play for a while, and hopefully he will be back to play again and we can continue to switch the forces up. So hope you enjoyed this one. I would like to give a special thank you as well to Will P. and Red Knight, the latest 2021 coffee supporters. Really appreciate you guys and your support, and we will see you in the next one. Take care for now.